Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson of the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom wears wings. In today's lesson, we're going right back to childhood memories, exploring. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be exploring on the third and fourth Friday of each week of the month. We're going to be exploring all the characters in the Little Miss and Mr. Men series. Now, when I was a child, I read these books, and I absolutely loved them. And maybe if there's maybe some people who may be watching this who has young children themselves, and they like to read the stories to their children. So the first character we're going to be exploring is the character Little Miss Princess. I thought it'd be quite appropriate to start with the character Little Miss Princess, as I'm known as the Butterfly Princess. So here goes. The enduring charm of Little Miss Princess, a study of royalty and relatability. Now, this series was created by Roger Hargreaves. Roger Hargreaves died in 1988, but his son Adam Hargreaves still carries on with writing the series and introducing new characters to the series. The character of Little Miss Princess was introduced into the series in the year 2005. So here goes. Introduction to the authors. The Mr. Men and Little Miss series, a cornerstone of children's literature, was first conceived by British author Roger Hargreaves in 1971, inspired by his son's question, "What does a sickle look like?" Obviously, for those of us who are familiar with Mr. Men and Mr. Men and Little Miss series, there is a character called Mr. Sickle, who is orange in colour and has very long arms. So which we will look at the character of Mr. Sickle in a future episode. But firstly of all, I'm going to do all the Little Miss characters first, and then go on to the Mr. Men characters. Hargreaves crafted whimsical minimalist characters that distilled human traits into vivid, approachable figures. Following Roger's death in 1988, his son Adam Hargreaves continued the legacy, expanding the universe with new characters while preserving its signature wit and simplicity. Among these additions, Little Miss Princess, 2003, she was created in 2003, stands out as a unique exploration of royalty, alteration and humility, blending fairy tale grandeur with the series' timeless charms. And don't worry, each time I explore a character in the Mr. Men and Little Men series. If you haven't read the books, or if any of these episodes inspire you to want to get the books and read them to your children, I will include a link for you to go and purchase the book if you want to. So I'll include links to that as well. So carrying on. Character profile and origins, royal identity and visual design. Little Miss Princess is the sole royal figure in the Mr. Men and Little Miss Parthenon, residing in a castle within the fictional Happy Land alongside her parents, the King and Queen. Her regal status is immediately signalled by her iconic design, a pink seraphic body adorned with a golden crown, blonde plaited hair, and a sash reading princess. Unlike traditional depictions of royalty, however, her round childlike form and oversized eyes align her visually with the series' other characters, grounding her in relatability. Personality traits: no ability beyond wealth. Despite her opulent lifestyle, complete with servants and palace comforts, Little Miss Princess defined aristocratic stereotypes. Early drafts of her character reveal a paradoxical longing to be a normal little girl, a detail that adds psychological depth. Her defining traits are kindness and generosity. She resolves to spread her luck around by assisting others even when her inexperience leads her to chaos. This duality privilege, paired with earnest empathy, positions her as a music figure who transcends simplistic royal tropes. Narrative role and themes: comedic struggles and humanisation. Little Miss Princess's stories derive humour from her well-intentioned blunders in her debut book. In her debut book, she attempts to make Mr. Bump a bruised character. Now, Mr. Bump is one of the Mr. Men characters in the series, and he is a blue colour and he's covered in white bandages. To aid Mr. Bump, a bruised character by cooking dinner and running errands. However, her lack of practical skills results in burnt meals and misplaced groceries. These mishaps serve as a dual purpose. They generate slapstick comedy while humanising her, proving that royalty must navigate failure. As she limits, I wanted to help, but I'm not very good at it. Her vulnerability dismantles assumptions about competence tied to social status. Themes of service and empathy. Her mission to assist others critique the notion that privilege precedes genuine kindness. Unlike the aloof monarchs of traditional tales, Little Miss Princess actively seeks to uplift her community, declaring, if I can't help people, what's the point of being a princess? This ethos of altruism aligns with the series' broader emphasis on moral growth, teaching young readers that empathy, not titles, defines one's worth. Cultural and literal context. Placing the Mr. Men universe. Within the series, Little Miss Princess contrasts sharply with characters like Little Miss Neat, obsessed with order, or Miss Bossy, domineering. Her blend of fairy tale elements, castles, crowns, with the kit franchise minimalist storytelling creates a whimsical yet accessible narrative. For instance, her castle lacks the intimidating grandeur of traditional palaces. Its cartoonish design mirrors the story's playful tone. Legacy and adaptations. Her popularity spurred spin-offs including Little Miss Princess and the Very Special Wedding, published in the year 2012, which explores her role as a problem-solving diplomat. Animated adaptations further cement her status as a symbol of grace under pressure, showcasing her ability to mediate conflicts among other characters. Critical analysis, subversion of royal stereotypes. Little Miss Princess challenged regal archetypes by emphasising humility over hierarchy. Her mishaps, such as tripping over her sash while delivering groceries, mocks the idea of innate royal perfection. Yet in helping others, I'll try again tomorrow, reinforces perseverance as a virtue, regardless of status. The spirituality invites critique. Does her character dismantle, or does her resilience on privilege, for example, a castle, reinforce it? The narrative leans towards the former, framing her wealth as a tool for for communal good rather than personal gain. Audience reception and educational value. Children's responses to Little Miss Princess often focus on her relatability. Her struggles mirrors their own experiences of trying and failing to master new tasks. Educators praise her stories for modelling empathy and resilience, with her failures offering gentle lessons in growth mindset. As Adam Hargreaves noticed, she's not about being perfect, she's about caring. Conclusion. Little Miss Princess embodies the Mr. Men series' ability to distill complex themes into diplomacy simple tales. Her juxtaposition of royal grandeur and down-to-earth warmth challenges stereotypes, offering a refreshing take on ability that prioritises heart over heritage through her comedic misadventures and unwavering kindness. She teaches readers that true princesshood lies not in crowns or castles, but in the courage to keep trying. A message as endearing as her golden plaits. Now, that is about the story of what it's about. Now I'm going to provide some analysis of the essay. Analysis of the enduring charm of Little Miss Princess, a study in royalty and relatability. Historical context. Legacy of the Mr. Men series. Roger Hargreaves' creation of the Mr. Men series in 1971 emerged during a transformative era in children's literature, marked by a shift towards minimalist character-driven storytelling. The series' emphasis on personified traits, e.g., for example, Mr. Grumpy or Little Miss Sunshine, mirrored broader trends in using simple narratives to explore complex emotions and social dynamics. Adam Hargreaves, the son of Roger Hargreaves, continuation of the series after his father's death in 1988, reflects the commercially nostalgic IP in the 2000s, where legacy brands were revived for new generations. Little Miss Princess, that was first published in 2003, arrived aimed a boom in princess culture, for example, but Disney's Princess Diaries that hit cinemas in 2001, yet subverting its tropes by grounding royalty to humility. Evolution of royal archetypes. The early 2000s, so that was right at the start of the 21st century, this current century, saw critiques of traditional princess narratives, for example, passive romance focused heroines. Little Miss Princess aligns with post-feminist reimaginings of royalty, emphasising agency, for example, actively helping others over passivity. Her creation mirrors compassionate characters like Ella Enchanted, a film from 2004, who similarly redefined princesshood through independence and resilience. Cultural perspectives, British monarchy and class commentary. As a UK-born series, Mr. Men inherently engages with British cultural hierarchies. Little Miss Princess juxtaposition of regal trappings, crown, castle, and kindness, service, suitably critiques class divides. Her declaration, if I can't help people, what's the point of being a princess, reframes nobility as a responsibility rather than a birthright, a resonant message in a nation grappling with virtue and social equality post the year 2000. Her character contrasts with traditional British royal symbolism, for example, stoic, distinct monarchs instead. Her contrast with traditional British royal symbolism, for example, stoic, distant monarchs instead, in embodying a Windsor-esque shift towards relatability, is seen in modern royal PR strategies. For example, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's relatability campaigns. Globalisation of princess culture. While Disney princesses dominated global media, Little Miss Princess offered a counter-narrative, a royal figure unburdened by romance or grandeur. Her childlike design, spherical body, oversized eyes, universalizes her appeal, transcending cultural specifics to focus on shared values like empathy. This aligns with the series' global success, which has been translated into 20+ languages. Education shifts in children's media. The lesson highlights her role in teacher resilience and growth mindset concepts, popularised in 2000's Pedigree. Her failure, burnt meals, botched errands, model perseverance, reflecting educational trends away from perfection. For example, Karen Dark's Mindset, which was published in 2006. This positions her as a tool for social emotional learning, distinct from galactic moralising in older children's literature. Literature and narrative analysis. Subversions of fairy tale tropes. Little Miss Princess inverts classic royal motifs setting. Her castle lacks intimidating grandeur, resembling a playful, cartoonish structure. Conflict. Struggles are mundane. For example, her struggles include things like cooking and chores rather than epic dragons and curses. Resolution. Success is measured by communal impact, not individual triumph. The subversion critique the princess industrial complex by prioritising everyday kindness over spectacle. Intersection of humour and humanity. Slapstick mishaps including tripping over a sash, humanise her, rescuing her from untouchable royalty. The humour serves dual purposes, entertaining children while dismantling elitism. Her Lamis I'm not very good at it normalises imperfection, a stark contrast to the infallible monarchs of traditional law. Critical tensions. The lesson privilege versus altruism. Altruism. The lesson raises but underexplored. So these are like, because I think, I've come up to think of things, I ask things, what could be improved, what are the weaknesses and what are the strengths, and then I discuss how I've addressed these issues. The lesson raises but underexplores tensions between her privileges, servants, resources, and altruism. While her wealth enables her aid, for example, a castle is a communal space, the narrative never interrogates systematic inequality, a missed opportunity to address how privilege can perpetuate or alienate relative social divides. Feminist amiability. Though progressive for 2003, Little Miss Princess's pink colour palette and focus on domestic tasks, for example, cooking and cleaning, risk reinforcing gendered stereotypes. However, her proactive problem solving, for example, mediating conflicts in the very special wedding, complicates this, blending traditional femininity with leadership. Legacy and relevance. Little Miss Princess is a enduring appeal, lies in her neutrality. She embodies fairy tale fantasy while modelling contemporary values, including empathy and humility. Her 2012 wedding theme spin-off and animated adaptations reflects ongoing cultural negotiations between traditional and modernity. In an era of gribless feminism and critiques of elite hypocrisy, her character remains a touchstone for redefining power as a service, a lesson resonant across age and culture. The lesson successfully situates Little Miss Princess within the Mr. Men legacy and broader cultural shifts through deeper integration of class and gender dynamics could strengthen its analysis. Her carried early 2000s tensions between traditional and progress, using humour and humility to redefine royalty for a new generation. As children's media continues evolving, her blend of whimsy and wisdom offers a template for inclusive, moral lucid storytelling. Right, so addressing the weakness. The lessons analysis of Little Miss Princess overlooks political, cultural, historical, and ideological nuisances. Princess culture critique, entitlement and gender. The lesson fails to engage with critiques of princesses' culture, undertones, and gendered expectations. Minimalist entitlement. While Little Miss Princess's altruism is celebrated, her royal status, including castle servants and golden crown, inherently ties kindness to wealth, as seen in a little princess. Sarah's moral authority is on her initial wealth, mirroring how privilege enables clarity. The lesson ignores critiques that princesses' narratives often conflate nobility with maritable privilege, fostering entitlement, gender stereotyping. The character's pink and crown design aligns with traditional princesses, branding critique by feminists like Peggy Arnstein. Studies of the Little Men, Little Miss series reveal gender binaries, male characters embody action, for example, Mr. Greedy, while feminine characters like Little Miss Princess emphasize domesticity or passivity. Her film Noble reinforces the stereotypes that women's values lie in nurturing others. Historical context, right? The analysis lacks grounding in historical and literature proceeds. Marie Antoinette parallels, like Marie Antoinette, whose perceived extravagance, whose perceived masked systematic inequality. Little Miss Princess's blunders, burnt meals, misplaced groceries, humanised royalty. However, the lesson misses an opportunity to critique how both figures' wealth shields them from consequences. Sarah Crow's legacy, Little Princess, establishes a template where notability is tied to moral fortitude in adversity. Sarah's resilience, despite poverty, mirrors Little Miss Princess's persuade, but the lesson has overlooks how both characters' innate goodness risk idealising suffering as a path to virtue. The lesson simplifies how privilege enables affiliatism. Resources, Little Miss Princess's castle and servants provide a safety net, absent for characters like Mr. Bump. Her ability to spread luck hinges on her wealth, echoing critiques of royalty who ignores symptoms of inequality, who addresses symptoms of inequality while ignoring systematic causes. Her attempts to help others disappear in A Little Princess, Sarah's charity to beggars is complicated by authorities. Similarly, Little Miss Princess Happy Land setting sidesteps critiques of colonial power. The lessons focus on educational values, ignores problematic interpretations, pressures to perform, kindness, while Little Miss Princess persistence is praised. Princess narratives often pressure girls to embody perfect selfishness, leading to self-critical tendencies. Her repeated failures, for example, burnt meals, could inherently teach that kindness requires relentless effort, not self-compassion. Agency limitations. In The Very Special Wedding, her role as a problem solver reinforces the trope of royalty social saviours, contradicting the series' usual emphasis on collaborative solutions. Cross-cultural blind spots. The lesson treats Little Miss Princess as universal, ignoring cultural specificity. British monarchy context. The Hargreaves' UK origins and Happy Land reflect Britain's nostalgic view on monarchy as benevolent. Contrast with the critiques of A Little Princess depictions of India or Marie Antoinette's Franco-Austrian context. Global princesses, troops, non-Western narratives, Egypt, for example, warrior princesses like Mulan challenge passive femininity, but Little Miss Princess remains tied to Euro-romantic ideals of grace and service. Right, I'm going to, so here's So I've now addressed these issues now, so here they are. The Mr. Men and Little Miss series, with its whimsical simplicity, has long been celebrating for distilling complex human traits into approachable characters. Among them, Little Miss Princess, first published in 2003, stands out as a paradoxical figure, a royal protagonist whose humility challenges traditional princesses. One minute, let me just see. Right, I need to right. So global princess archetypes. Non-Western narratives, for example, Mulan from China, who was a Disney character, and Moana, also a Disney character from Polynesia, redefine princesshood through courage and communal leadership. Mulan's defiance of gender roles and Moana's environmental stewardship challenge passive femininity, whereas Little Miss Princess remains tethered to bureaucratic ideas of grace and services. Right, so let me just, right, so, let me just, so, um, the figure of the princess has long been a contested archetype in children's literature, out socialising between reinforcing regressive norms and subversing them through progressive ideas. Little Miss Princess, published in 2003, a later addition to the Mr. Men and Little Miss series, embodies this tension. While her narrative champions humility and altruism, a deeper analysis reveals unresolved contradictions tied to gender privilege and cultural representation. This lesson, part of this lesson, examines her character through four lenses: feminist critique, historical lineage, class dynamics, and cross-cultural context, offering a comprehensive reassessment of her role in modern storytelling. Right, so feminist critique, Little Miss Princess versus Disney's combined royalty. The visual and narrative design of Little Miss Princess invites comparison to Disney's iconic princesses, particularly Cinderella, but reveals stark contrast in their treatment of gendered norms, visual symbolism, and gendered expectations. Disney's Cinderella, that came out in the year 1950, epitomises the of princesshood through her high feminine glass slipper ball gown and reliance on male rescue, the Prince Charming, frame her value through beauty and passivity. In contrast, Little Miss Princess's minimalist design, a pink spear with a crown and a sash, avoids obvious sexualisation, aligning with the Mr. Men series, gender neutral simplicity. However, a pink hue in association with domestic tasks, for example, cooking for Mr. Bum, reintroduce traditional femininity. Feminist scholar Peggy Orentine in Cinderella Ain't My Daughter, published in 2011, critiques the princess industrial complex, for reducing girls to consumers of beauty narratives, while Little Miss Princess's sidesteps Disney's commercial excesses. Her narrative still centres on caregiving roles, reinforcing the stereotype that women's primary value lies in nurturing others. Unlike Mulan or Moana, who are another two Disney princess characters, who redefine princesshood through physical bravery and leadership, Little Miss Princess's agencies confined to emotional labour, a limitation the series never interrogates. Altruism versus autonomy. Disney princesses often achieve resolution through romantic unions. For example, Cinderella's marriage to Prince Charming, whereas Little Miss Princess derives purpose from aiding others. Yet both frameworks equate female fulfillment with service to others, neglecting rational roles. Little Miss Princess's declaration, "If I can't help people, what is the point of being a princess?" elevates truism as a race, echoing the cultural expectations that women prioritise communal harmony over individual ambition. Historical depth. Sarah Crumb's fortitude and Marie Antoinette's paradox. Little Miss Princess's moral journey resonates with historical and literal figures whose legacies intertwine virtual privilege and public perception. Sarah Crowe, nobility's moral fortitude. Frances Hodgins Burnett's A Little Princess, published in 1905, offers a poignant parallel. Sarah Crewe, reduced from wealth to servitude, maintains her princess identity through imagination and kindness, asserting that a princess is kind to everyone. Like Sarah, Little Miss Princess embodies resilience, persisting in her mission despite comedic failures. However, both narratives romanticise suffering as a crucible for virtue. Sarah's poverty and Little Miss Princess's blunders suggest notabilities proven through adversity, not challenged by it. This risks idealising hardships as a moral necessity, observing systematic critiques of inequality. Marie Antoinette, performance versus privilege. Marie Antoinette's legacy mirrors Little Miss Princess's tensions between relatability and elitism. The French Queen's rustic escapades at a fabricated peasant village sought to humanise her through performance. Simplicity, much like Little Miss Princess's desire to be a normal little girl. Yet both figures' attempts at humility were undermined by their unexamined privilege. Marie Antoinette ignored feminine-stricken peasants, just as Little Miss Princess's charity overlooks Happy Land's feudal hierarchies. Their stories reveal the limits of royal empathy when divorced from structural critique. Privilege analysis. Little Miss Princess's wealth is both her greatest asset and her blind spot, echoing critiques in a Little Princess. The enabling power of privilege. Her castle servants and golden crown provide an unacknowledged safety net. When she misplaces Mr. Bump's groceries or burns his dinner, her royal status shields her from lasting consequences, a luxury denied to working class characters like Little Miss Scatterbrain. This dynamic mirrors Sarah Crewe's charity in Burnett's novel. Even impoverished Sarah shares her meagre bread with a beggar. Her generosity framed as innate nobility rather than a choice enabled by poor privilege. Both narratives conflate morality with social status, suggesting kindness is a trait of a deserving elite. The limits of philanthropy. Little Miss Princess's efforts to spread luck amplify philanthropic patriotism where elites address inequality through individual charity rather than systematic reforms. Her interventions helping Mr. Bump cook, delivering groceries, treat symptoms of poverty, hunger, and while ignoring root causes, hierarchies in Happy Land. Similarly, Sarah Clue's charity A Little Princess is complicated by colonialist undertones. Her generosity reinforces her superiority as a civilized English girl in colonial India. Both character altruisms, however, were well initiated, power imbalanced by casting elites as saviours. Cross-cultural context, warrior princesses and economic black and Eurocentric blind spots. Little Miss Princess narrative emerges from a Eurocentric tradition that sidesteps global princess archetypes and colonial critiques. Warrior princesses challenging passive femininity. Non-Western narratives like Mulan and Chat from China and Moana from Polynesia redefine princesshood through physical bravery and communal leaderships. Mulan's defiance of gender roles to protect her nation and Moana's environmental stewardship contrast sharply with Little Miss Princess' domestic focus. These warrior princesses embody active agency, their narrative centering on collective survival rather than individual kindness. Little Miss Princess Eurocentric ideas of grace and service lack this transformative potential, reinforcing feminist passivity. Happy Land's feudal nostalgia. The setting of Happy Land with its castles and mosaic roofs reflects a romanticised view of Europe feudalism. Unlike a little princess's engagement with colonial India, where Sarah's father profits from imperialism, Happy Land's whimsical centrism avoids critique of empire. This not framing presents monarchy as an apocryphal benevolent apocalypse presents as a political benevolent force, ignoring real-world legacies of exploitation tied to rival institutions. Conclusion. Little Miss Princess occupies a paradoxical space in children's literature. Her narratives challenge royal elitism through humility, yet it remains inclusive in gendered classes and Eurocentric norms. To transcend these limitations, future revisions might draw inspirations from global princess archetypes that prioritise collective actions over individual charity and systematic critique by reimagining princesshood as a call to dismantle inequality rather than alienate its symptoms. Storytellers can transform characters like Little Miss Princess into a catalyst for a more just and inclusive world, one where empathy is not a royal but a shared responsibility. So here are some questions that I've come up with in regard to this discussion. I will read you out the questions, and then I will read you out the answers. Question 1. How does Little Miss Princess's design of pink hue, crown, sash reinforce or subvert traditional gendered expectations of princesshood in children's literature? 2. In what ways does her altruism reflect broader cultural expectations of women's role as caregivers? Does her narrative challenge these norms or inadvertently reinforce them? 3. The lesson argues that Little Miss Princess confronts notability with maternal privilege. How does this dynamic mirror real-world critiques of elitism? 4. Compare Little Miss Princess's relatable royalty trait to Antoinette's performance humility. How do both figures highlight the limitations of privilege in addressing systematic inequality? 5. Sarah Quinn, the character from a Little Princess, and Little Miss Princess both frame suffering as a path to moral growth. Is this narrative empowering or problematic? Explain your answer. 6. How might Little Miss Princess Eurocentric setting Happyland reflect British nostalgic view of monarchy, and what historical realities does this idealize? 7. The essays critique Little Miss Princess's charities patriotic. Do you agree that her actions perpetrate power imbalance, or does her humility mitigate the risk? 8. How does the Mr. Men Little Miss series portrayal of working class characters, for example, Little Miss Mr. Bump, contrast with Little Miss Princess's privilege interventions? What does this suggest about class in children's media? 9. If Little Miss Princess lacked her castle and servants, how might her ability to spread love be reimagined? Would this strengthen or weaken her moral authority? 10. Warrior princesses like Mulan and Moana redefine agency through physical bravery and communal leadership. How might Little Miss Princess's narratives change if she embodied similar traits? 11. Happyland's feudal structure avoids colonial critiques present in a Little Princess's India. Is this ammunition a missed opportunity, or does it preserve the series' whimsical tone? 12. How do non-Western princesses' narratives challenge Little Miss Princess's emphasis on passive kindness and kindness? 13. The essay argues that Little Miss Princess risks idealising hardships. Do her comedic failures, burnt meals, sufficiently critique this trait, or do they trivialise systematic issues? 14. Disney princesses like Cinderella derive resolutions through romance, while Little Miss Princess finds purpose in service. Which narrative offers a more progressive model for young audiences? 15. Can a character like Little Miss Princess coexist with modern feminist reimaginings of royalty, e.g. Maverick from the Disney film Brave, or does her design inherently limit her relevance? 16. The essay suggests contrasting Little Miss Princess with Disney's royalty characters. What specific visual or narrative change would make her a more efficient feminist critique. How might Little Miss Princess stories address systematic inequality in Happy Land? If Little Miss Princess was reimagined as a warrior or leader, how would this reshape Little Miss Dement, Little Miss series gender dynamics? So here are the answers. So 1. Her pink hue, crown and sash align with traditional femininity, associating her with passivity and caregiving. The pink colour codes her as nurturing, while the crown symbolises authority, tied to royalty rather than earned agency. Comparatively, male characters like Mr. Strong embody physical prowess, reinforcing gender boundaries. However, her minimalist childlike design avoids hypersexualization, subverting Disney's femininity, yet her focus on domestic tasks ultimately reinscribes stereotypical roles. 2. Whilst her kindness is commendable, it reinforces the expectations that women derive value from nurturing others. Her declaration that helping others is her part as a princess centres female fulfilment on service, mirroring social norms that prioritises women's emotional labour over autonomy. Unlike warrior princesses who lead through action, her agency is confirmed to caregiving gendered norms. 3. Her altruism is enabled by wealth, castle servants, echoing real-world critiques where philanthropy by elites addresses symptoms, not systematic equality. Like Sarah Crewe in A Little Princess, whose innate goodness is tied to her upbringing, Little Miss Princess's charity frames morality as a trait of the privileged, obscuring structural barriers faced by working class characters like Mr. Bump. 4. Both figures attempt relatability. Marries in Marie Antoinette through a fucked peasant village, Little Miss Princess through clumsy chores, yet their privilege insulates them from consequences. Marie Antoinette's pastoral play ignored famine. Little Miss Princess's charity overlooks Happy Land's hierarchy. Both highlight how performative empathy fails to address systematic equality. 5. Problematic. Sarah Crewe's resilience is in poverty. Little Miss Princess persistence despite failure romanticises adversity as a path to virtue. This risks idealising hardship, suggesting systematic inequalities a moral test rather than an injustice to dismantle. 6. Happy Lamb's Whimsy idealises monarchy as benevolence, ignoring real-world colonial legacies. Unlike A Little Princess's engagement with British imperialism in India, Happy Land's Eurocentrism sanitises royal history, presenting hierarchy as harmless fantasy. Question 7. Yes, her top-down assistance for Mr. Bump positions her as a saviour, reinforcing class hierarchies. While her humility softens this, the narrative never questions why systematic support is absent, framing poverty as an individualism sovereign by royal benevolence. Question 8. Mr. Bump's accidents what the safety net of her castle, highlighting class discrepancy. Her interventions are comedic missteps, while her struggles are inherent to his identity. This suggests working class hardship is immutable, while privilege allows playful altruism. Without resources, her altruism would require collaboration, strengthening its authenticity. However, losing her royal role might diminish her symbolic power, challenging the stories to redefine princesshood beyond material privilege. Question 10. Embodying Mulan's leadership on Moana's environmental stewardship would shift her from passive helper to active leader, challenging gendered norms. This would align her with global princess archetypes that redefine agency through collective actions. Question 11. If it preserves whimsy but avoids necessary critique. While the series isn't overly political, acknowledging Happy Land's roots could deepen its moral scope without sacrificing tone, much like Little Princess's subtle colonial commentary. 12. Warrior princesses prioritise communal survival over individual kindness, showcasing active agency. Little Miss Princess's passive service pales in comparison, underscoring Eurocentric limitations on female roles. They trivialise burnt meals, frame systematic issues, for example, hunger, as laughable mishaps, reducing inequality to individual blunders rather than structural flaws. 14. Cinderella's romance versus her service, which is more progressive. Neither. Both equate female worth with extended validation. Cinderella through marriage, Little Miss Princess through service. True progressiveness lies in narratives prioritising self-determination, like Moana's quest for identity. Question 15. Yes, if reimagined, coexistence requires diversifying princesshood to include both natures and leaders, reflecting multifactored femininity. 16. Swap pink for natural tones. Replace the crown with tools of agency, for example, a compass, and sense stories and collaborative problem solving. Introduce question 17. Introduce systematic critiques. Why does Mr. Bump lack support? Resolve conflict through community organising, not royal decrees. 18. Transform her into a leader who mobilises others, reshaping gender dynamics. This could inspire male characters to embrace emotional intelligence, fostering balance. And here are some rhetorical questions. Question 1. Can a princess who derives her purpose from serving others ever truly break free from the gendered chains of caretaker, or does she merely repackage oppression as virtue? 2. Does privileges taint altruism when acts of kindness are cushioned but by unearned wealth, or is empathy only legitimate when it costs the giver something? If Marie Antoinette's performative humility failed to address systematic inequalities, what makes us believe a cartoon princess's bubbling charity will fare any better? What does it mean? Question 4. What does it mean that our universal princess archetypes remain some European in origin, while warrior queens and revolutionary leaders are relegated to the margins of folklore? 5. Is a crown a symbol of authority or a shackle that binds its wearers to outdated hierarchies, even when painted pink and paired with a child's smile? 6. When we romanticize struggle as a path to virtue, as with Sarah Crew's poverty or Little Miss Princess's meals, do we risk glorifying systems that perpetrate suffering? 7. When does charity become complicit in the very systems it claims to alienate? And when does humility become an alibi for inaction? Question 8. Can a fictional kingdom like Happyland ever be truly happy if its whimsical feudalisms erase the violence embedded in real-world monarchies? 9. Does reducing systematic issues to light-hearted mishaps, burnt dinners, trivialise the lived realities of those without castle to retreat to? 10. Why must princesses choose between being nurturers or warriors in our stories when real women are expected to be both and more? 11. Is Little Miss Princess a relic of fading aristocratic fantasy, or does her persistence in pop culture reveal our unconscious longing for benevolent rulers in the age of disillusionment? Can a princess ever truly be relatable, or is the concept itself an oxymoron, a desperate attempt to criticise an institution built on expectations? So here are the insights. Question 1. Little Miss Princess's altruism, while noble, reinforces gender expectations by tying her identity to caregiving. Her role as a nurturer mirrors social norms that equate women's values with selfishness, even as it survives over sexualization. True liberation would require redefining her purpose beyond service, embracing agency that transcends traditional roles. 2. Insight. Her wealth and status enable and undermine her kindness. Acts like cooking for Mr. Bump are cushioned by her castle's safety nets, raising questions about the authenticity of empathy rooted in privilege. Ultra-truism becomes meaningful only when it demands sacrifice, challenging systematic inequality rather than masking them. Question 3. Insight. Like Marie Antoinette's pastoral placating Little Miss Princess, bumbling charity highlights the few negative performative humility. Both figures' efforts were endearing ignore structural inequalities. Their narratives caution against conflicting relatability and meaningful change. 4. The Eurocentric princess archetype dominates global media, merchandising non-Western heroes like Mulan, who leads, or Moana, who navigates ecological crisis. This exclusion perpetrates narrow definition of familiar cycling stories where women wield power beyond nurturing. 5. The crown symbolises paradoxical authority. It grants Little Miss Princess legitimacy while severing her hierarchical traditions. Even redeemed whimsically, it upholds outdated power struggles, suggesting that regal cannot escape its imperial roots. Romanticising struggle, for example, Sarah Crew's poverty, Little Miss Princess's failures, risk volatilizing systems that cause suffering. Resilience becomes a moral bandage, obscuring the need to dismantle oppressive frameworks. Charity risks complacency when it addresses symptoms, hunger, but not cause through hierarchy. Little Miss Princess's interventions, well kind, justice demands Justice demands distributing power, not temporary fixes. Happy Land's systematic view erases monarchies' violent histories by idealising hierarchies, whimsy. It obscures real-world exploitations, asking audiences to accept inequalities, charming fiction. Trivialising hardship through comedy minimalises the gravity of poverty. For characters like Mr. Bump, these mishaps reflect systematic neglect, a reality obscured by laughter. Princesses need not choose between nurturing and leading. Real women balance multiple roles. Fictional counterparts should reflect this complexity. Little Miss Princess could evolve into a diplomat or organiser, blending empathy with systematic action. Her persistence reflects nostalgia for the benevolent authority in turbulent times, yet her aristocratical fantasy feels increasingly archetypal, urging creators to reimagine leadership as collective. Relatability and loyalty are inherently at odds. They attempt to democratize princesshood through humour or humility. Humility cannot resolve the exclusion. Nurture of monarchy, true inclusivity requires abandoning hierarchies altogether. Final thoughts. The analysis of Little Miss Princess reveals a character caught between progressive ideals and regressive traditions. Her altruism, while commendable, is inexorably tied to unexamined privilege, and her attempts to humanise royalty are undermined by Eurocentric gendered norms. Yet her narrative also opens the door to reimagining princesshood. One of the challenges hierarchies embraces empathy and prioritises justice over charity. The contradictions she embodies are not flaws to dismiss, but invitations to ask harder questions. Can stories for children celebrate kindness while critiquing the systems that make kindness a luxury? Can royalty be redefined beyond crowns and castles? Inspirational thoughts to carry forward. On challenging systems, the master's tool will never dismantle the master's horse. On redefining leadership, a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say we did it ourselves. On empathy and justice, justice is what love looks like in public. On rewriting narratives, stories matter. Many stories matter. Stories have been used to depossess into malign, but stories can also be used to empower and to humanise. On feminist possibility, feminism is for everyone. Body. Closing reflection. Little Miss Princess is not merely a children's character, but a mirror reflecting our cultural abrasiveness about power, gender and privilege. Her legacy need not be static. It can spark organisations, reimaginings later. Let her crown become a compass, her castle a communal hall, and her kindness a catalyst for justice. In the words of Octavia Butler, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. May we touch these stories with the courage to change them and ourselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this week's today's lesson of the Butterfly Princess and concludes this week's lessons that have took place on a variety of different subjects at the Butterfly Princess Academy. Thank you for joining me this week at the Butterfly Princess Academy. I really appreciate your support and your ongoing support. And please remember, you can watch all these lessons on the Butterfly Princess Show, on the Butterfly Princess Academy Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can also follow the Butterfly Princess Academy on Instagram to find out what lessons are coming up in the very near future. But until next time, have a lovely rest of your day and a lovely weekend, and I will see you all again very soon. Take care and bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.